Alright, the year is 2025. I believe a new any percent tutorial is well overdue. So my name's Queen Magnolia. I use she, her pronouns. You can call me Magnolia or Leah. To start, we're going to be running on patch 1221. If you don't have this patch, there's a guide in the description on how to set it up and everything else you'll need to start speedrunning. Disclaimer, this is no longer the fastest route. A new route was found during the making of this video, and I'm not knowledgeable enough about it to make a tutorial, so I'll leave making that tutorial to someone else. The new route is pretty difficult though, so you might just want to stick with this one when you start out. I also won't be going over the main bosses in this tutorial, as those deserve their own separate videos and will take up a lot of time. There's some resources in the description for bosses. Quick note, you don't have to select the mode if you clear your registry, so that can save some time on your resets. There's a link to the tool that does that automatically in the description. Alright, onto settings and binds. We run on Chinese because it's the fastest. To go to Chinese, go to game options and hit left twice. Secondly, we run without VSync because it caps our game at 50 FPS. We'll need much more than that, and it also adds a lot of input delay and feels terrible to play on. You're also going to want to cap your FPS in this game to make things more consistent and for some FPS dependent strats. You're going to want to cap between 220 and 300 FPS for this category in particular, and if you can't get those consistently, then you're going to want to cap as high as you can get consistently. You can do that through the NVIDIA control panel here, or if you don't have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can do that using Riva Tuner, which is linked in the description. If you like, you also have the option to run with the screen shake modifier that lowers or deactivates the screen shake. If you don't like the screen shake in the game, most people run with this. I think it's an advantage. There's a link in the description. Now, should you play on keyboard or controller? Controller is a completely viable option for the game. If you played casually on controller, you're free to just keep playing on it if you don't want to switch. The most important thing is your skill at the game, not your control scheme. However, keyboard does have a slight advantage in this game. It just isn't super relevant in any percent. But things such as left-right wall clink storage, pogo dashing with Dashmaster without dashing down, and various SOCD and overbind functionalities are much easier on keyboard. If you'd like to switch to keyboard, now's probably the best time to do it. Now, quick advice on binds for keyboard and box players. This advice is coming from me, not the community, so just take it with a grain of salt. I'd recommend binding your dash and your quick cast button to the same finger. Both of these abilities cause you to be inactionable, so you never have to do both of them at the same time or in quick succession. This can save you a valuable finger that you'd rather dedicate to something else. Now, for keyboard and box players, there's a program made by Hollow Knight community members part of the Creed and Magma Bob. This program allows us to easily rebind keyboard keys to controller buttons or stick movements, as well as rebind keys like escape, which you can't do in-game. The link to that will be in the description as well. We want to use this program to bind left analog stick left, left analog stick right, and right analog stick up keys. Feel free to use overbind to bind multiple of the same key as well, but note that pressing a second button while the first button is already pressed doesn't work. These are my binds. It's just the default controls with cast and inventory changed, and everything is shifted up by one key. I'll show some other people's binds if you want to try them out. Last note, most of the strats in this tutorial are meant to be the fastest that I would recommend you consider doing in a full game run, but there are some strats that you can do which are faster. If you want to see the fastest strat for a room, you can check the room sum of best sheet, which is linked in the description. So yeah, that's it for settings and binds. Alright, first thing to do when we start the run is we're going to pause the game, and then when we unpause, we'll have control of our character. Then we're going to open our inventory when we get to around this wall, and then close it to cancel the hard fall. The inventory will uncap our fall speed, and we'll be using that a lot throughout the run. If you miss that, you lose about 6 seconds. The earlier you close it, the faster though. Alright, so this guy here has an encircular aggro range. We're just going to jump into it to bait him over, and then we're going to pogo on his head. Sometimes you have to go down there to get him over. Then you can slash that thing to save a little bit of time when you're turning around. Alright, next. This is something you're just going to have to learn the timing for, but you're going to want to walk right, the floor is going to crack, and then you want to do a mini hop, like a miniature height jump, as late as possible before this floor breaks. And then you have to land in the upper section, and that'll avoid the hard fall. Like that. The visual cue for hitting this door is when your character is about in front of this black line here, so... Here we're going to inventory and close inventory as soon as possible before hitting the ground. When you inventory doesn't matter, we're just trying to go right, not down, so the fall speed doesn't matter at all. And then when we get to Dirtmouth, we're going to buffer jumps off the ground, because the game makes you walk really slow in this section. So being in the air just prevents that from happening. And there's a visual cue. Well, I don't actually use a visual cue. I just try to do any jump later than a buffer jump after walking off this step, and that'll get you in this hole. You pre-jump here, and drop down the middle, and then fall into the load like that. In this room, we're just going to hug this right wall, and then we're going to do a little hop right there to avoid rubbing against this platform here. Alright, now we have double spike, so we got to deal with this Aspid first. He's going to be either high or low. If he's low, you do 3 up slashes. If he's high, you do 3 down slashes. And then after that, we're going to hit this spike right here on the ceiling to the right, and it's going to kill the other 2 remaining. This trick takes a lot of practice. Don't feel bad if you don't hit it right away. The cue that we'll be using for when to jump off is we're going to be standing right at the left side of this gate, and then as soon as we see the movement from the Aspids in the background start moving, then we can jump to the left and hit the spike to the right. And we jump now. If you react based on when these Aspids start spawning, you will lose a bit of time because it's faster to just know the timing in your head or use a setup using slashes, which will look like this. Alright, so in this Gome room, you can see this piece of grass. The left side of it is where we're going to do our first jump, and throughout this whole room, we're just going to hold right. So this could be a max height jump. We bonk the ceiling, and then we just jump just enough to get over that first Gome. And after that, we're just going to hold right. It's not too precise. And in this room, we're just going to hold right. Make sure you jump over this guy like this. And then when you get to this part right here, you're going to do a full height jump again. That full height jump does actually matter, because what it does is that Vengefly that follows us will actually die to the Gomes and cause freeze frames, which will lose you a couple frames. So if you do the jumps in the pattern I just showed, you'll avoid that and save a couple frames every time for free. We have Statue Pogo in this room. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just do that. It just takes practice. This room, we're just going to go over this guy. These guys have a lot of different patterns. It just takes a lot of experience getting used to them, but most of them are pretty straightforward. The only thing to be careful of is if this guy's head hits the ceiling, you'll actually lose your jump. If he's walking like this, you'll see I pressed jump there, but my jump didn't go anywhere off the ground because I jumped and his head hit the ceiling. So it thinks our head hit the ceiling and we lose our jump. So just be careful. If you're walking under this guy, don't up slash him. Alright, so in False Night, the cue for when to turn around, or when you hit the trigger, is going to be around the right side of this little shell thing. You're going to turn around, and then what you're going to do is just hit him. I think it's 13 times. You can just keep hitting him. He won't really get an attack off before that happens. Whether or not he jumps forward or backward is RNG. If he jumps forward, you'll kill him faster. The more he jumps backward, the slower it'll be. And that's all you got to do, because you will be leaving the arena And you can try to get like Geo here, or heal if you like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And on the 8th one, you can jump out of the arena and leave. Alright, so for Ancestral Mound, there's not a lot of tech here. You're going to start by upslashing this platform, jumping and upslashing it so you don't have to deal with it on your way back. And then there is one piece of tech here. So this guy can either be on the left or the right. I'm going to kill him for now so he's not in our way. But if he's, I don't go for this strat if he's on the right, because if you miss, you'll get hit. If he's on the left, there's no risk in going for this. But when you're directly in front of this post here, you're going to slash and just hold forward. And that'll prevent you from getting knocked back. So you don't have to stop moving, right? The rest of this is pretty straightforward. Just gonna take some practice, but I'll just show you what it looks like. You want to pogo this guy, and you can break both of those in one slash if you time it right. You also want to pogo this fly up here. Just bait him here. Alright, so for this Balder, you're going to want to fireball as high as possible as soon as you are low enough to actually fireball him and hit him, and then you're just going to want to kill this baby. That was pretty low. Then you jump slash and slash again. To the dialogue. Ideally, you want to get those fireballs out a little quicker. You don't have to grab that bench because it auto grabs. But then here you're going to open inventory real quick, close it. You won't get a hard fall in that case, and then hit this lever from as far away as possible, like that. Alright, Gruz Climb. So this room is super RNG, and there's like infinite patterns you can get, but the important thing is that you just get 6 soul and get through the room. So the ticks are always in the same places, but the Gruzzers are in different spots. So here, you can do this. And then you are always gonna want to get that last tick and that first tick. I'll show you again. There's a faster strat for this tick if you want to see. You can also sometimes get that. So that's the Gruzzer strat that you can sometimes do if you get that spawn. And then there's also this strat for the tick where you right slash him while going up, and that'll save you a little bit of time. If you need to, you can hit this tick up here to make up the extra soul that you may have missed. If you only have 4 soul out of 6, and the only hits you got in this room were the 2 on this tick and the 2 on the tick before, then it's on average faster to just ignore this altogether and just hope that you get a first spit in the next room. If you get a first spit, it'll save time over hitting this tick, and if you don't, it'll lose time, but it's still faster on average not to get this tick if you're on 4. But if you're on 5, go ahead and get the 1 hit from that one. Here you're going to walk up to this post right here, and then turn around, and then you're going to walk back past the edge of this platform and fireball to the left, and then you can just walk right. So in that case, I get a first spit. If I only had 4 soul, I would get the 2 hits from that guy from just hitting him twice, and that will give me enough soul for this fireball skip. So, as I mentioned earlier, it is important that you have your quick cast bound and that you are using it to cast your spells, because otherwise this will be like really, really difficult and inconsistent. So all you're going to do is jump on the latest possible frame. In this game you get, I believe, 1 frame of coyote frames, which means after you walk off you can still jump for 1 frame. So just keep that in mind. But you're going to jump as late as possible, and then you're going to turn around and fireball. Okay, real quick, you're going to want to make sure you have SOCD cleaner functionality for this. You can do this using Overbind, or you can use the individual program made for it. Both are linked in the description. Essentially, it makes it so that your left and right override each other, and this will stop you from fireballing the wrong direction if you tap right and release left slightly too late. You can see when I'm holding right and I tap left, I actually move left. On controller, you can get this done by holding left on the analog stick and tapping right on the D-pad, because the D-pad overrides the analog stick. A lot of people like to claw grip it, so tap like this. You want to do those ideally 1 frame apart. So it is a motion of turn around and fireball. It's not turn around and then fireball. It's turn around and fireball. One thing. You want to press them almost together, just very slightly after the other. And you also want to do this very late while falling for this one. So like that, and it'll get you across. Again, don't feel bad if you don't get this right away. It is pretty difficult. If you miss it, it's also no shame. You can just go under. So for this room, we're just going to try to get as much free souls as we can get without losing time. You can jump and pogo that guy twice. You're basically pressing jump and then immediately pressing pogo, like almost together. Like again, like one frame after the other one, and then you just buffer the second pogo. And then on these birds, if you jump into this like crevice here, you can sometimes get one. Not always, it's just RNG. And then you can jump over this guy and pogo him once. And then here again, you can get 2 hits on that guy. Sometimes you'll have to turn around and right slash him. But it just depends on where he is. And if you're still short soul, you could just jump off this platform and you'll usually get 3 or 4 birds. And if you're still short soul, there's these 2 guys which are super free to get. You just jump and you can up slash them through the platform. It won't lose any time. I think it was like 1 frame. And then we have this fireball skip. It's gonna be jump, same thing, turn around. This one you can't afford to do as late. The reason you do the first one late is because it resets your fall speed when you do the fireball. So resetting your fall speed means you're going to be moving downward a lot slower, and that'll get you more distance overall. But in this case, you don't really have that much room. You just got to do that. All right, so next room, when we go into this, we're going to have anywhere between 1 and 3 soul, ideally. And then we are just going to try to get as much soul as possible. So for this guy, we can jump, and then while we're falling, up slash, and then jump again and up slash. And that'll give us the highest chances to get 2 hits from this guy without having to stop. And we should really never be stopping, holding left. And then after that, we're just going to hit the mossy guy as close as possible. Basically, hit him when he's as close to us as possible, and then he'll run away, and we'll get 3 hits from him, and I'll show you how that's done. So that's what that guy looks like. And if you miss one, you can just down slash him there. Keep in mind that when you pogo this guy, you won't get the pogo. When these guys are burrowing into the ground, and he always will be if he's on this platform, they do not give you nail knockback. So if you forward slash them, and that's only when they're burrowing, not when they're running. But when they're burrowing into the ground, they won't give you nail knockback, and that includes pogos. Luckily for us, this down slash should kill him if you already hit him twice. So you just down slash and be ready to land and jump off this platform. This room is just going to be another fireball skip. Once again, jump as late as possible, and do that. If you have the second fireball skip down, this one should be just about the same. And then we're going to jump over these guys. If you get hit, it's okay. Just as long as you don't die in the split, you're fine. The health doesn't matter. Sometimes these guys let you through really easily. Sometimes they don't. It's okay if you need to get hit. But yeah. Then here, this guy has a million annoying patterns. If you get the right pattern, or if he's really in your way, normally the worst place he could be is like directly on top of this platform, or like overhanging it a little bit so that you can't jump onto it. You can jump and then just pogo at max height and completely skip this platform and get to here. So keep that in mind. It is very fast if you do it, and it's also often the only way to get around them without like falling all the way down the room. All right, now for this Moss Knight, make sure you don't do any like unnecessary jumping at the start of this next room, and also just hold right the whole time, because his backdash is based on room timing, or how long you've been in the room, rather. So we're gonna go into here, and there's gonna be an orange hitbox above his head. It's kind of hard to see because there's a lot of hitboxes. But this orange hitbox above his head, you're going to jump into it, and it'll cause him to backdash. So I didn't make it into the hitbox there, and I also waited around and it messed up the backdash. But if you do it all correctly, you slash to wake him up, and then up slash, and you jump and fireball him. And that'll get you two 2 hits of the fireball. It'll save you soul, and it'll also get all the geo to drop on the right. If you don't, you can just fire another fireball and he'll die. If you miss it, it's totally fine to just fireball 3 times. It's just you'll have less soul for the upcoming section. Here, you're just going to gather soul as you're walking. It's not too difficult. You can get 2 hits from these guys. If you need extra hits, you can always up slash and then do a turnaround slash. And you can do the same for this guy. And then I jump at this black piece of foreground. I do a full height jump. Okay, so this next room is one of the most complicated rooms in the split. Just to start, I want to put out a note that your PC performance does matter in this room. It's probably one of the biggest instances of your PC performance mattering. The reason is because this Moss Knight, who is covered in leaves and you need to wake up, is actually walking when you're in the load. And then as soon as you get through the load and you're in the room, he turns into a pile of leaves. So because of that, he is sometimes walking right and he is sometimes walking left. If he's walking left, and your PC has long loads, then he'll walk really far to the left and be all the way in the corner when he turns into a pile of leaves. And if that happens, you're going to have a really hard time because you can't do the same strat. So if you have bad PC, I'm very sorry to you, but you're just going to have to accept time loss. Okay, so for Hornet, I will not be covering it in this tutorial because I believe she is too in-depth for a simple video to explain. I recommend just practicing the fight a lot. Time your fights. I'll link down below a video in the description of me fighting Hornet for a while, just so you have a bunch of reference fights to look at and see how she's played. If you do want an explanation on the boss, I'll link Fireborn's tutorial down below as well, and I'd recommend just practicing, recording your fights. You can post them in the Hollow Knight Discord, which will also be linked down below, and the people in the Hollow Knight Discord can give you feedback on your Hornet fights as well. Alright, so at this point, as soon as we get this, we're gonna save quit out, and that'll take us back to the mound bench, even if we didn't sit on it. So as soon as we get up, just dash out of the room. You can cancel your dash with an inventory, like that. So for this room, we're just going to dash, dash, and then dash and cancel it with an inventory. For this dash, you want to do it as low to the ground as possible. Preferably, you want to cancel your inventory so that you are just touching the ground when you gain control. And then you can do that and get a bigger pre-jump over the edge. Dash out of this room. We're going to jump dash here, just for fall speed. Alright, so Hollow Knight has a gimmick with the coyote frames. If you're not holding a direction while you dash, you actually get more coyote frames to buffer a jump. And so when you enter this room, you need to not hold anything and then dash and buffer a jump. If you are holding left, and even if you dash on the first frame, it still won't work. So you need to make sure you're not pressing anything, and then you're just going to buffer a jump. And then here you're going to inventory drop right at this little rock in the background where my cursor is. And you're going to cancel it and pogo this little statue, which can be a little bit difficult. Okay, so I'm not going to explain TFT right here because it's too complicated. Finally, for the last part of this room, when you're falling here, we're going to do what's called aesthetic slash. There is no degree of precision to this. All that matters is that you get a turnaround and that you do hit this platform. As long as you left slash the platform, you will always make it to the thing. The reason we do this is that sometimes, again, because of TFT, when you fall, you don't make it to this platform here if you're going full ball speed. It is possible that you do make it sometimes, but the aesthetic slash, once again, will guarantee that you always make it to this platform because of the null knockback. It doesn't matter how precise it is. You just got to do it, and then as soon as you splash, you hold right. All right, so for this next room, it's just going to be dashing to the right. Sorry to the WoW guys. You do have this option to collect that soul right there if you want it. I will mention that later if you don't want to do a different strat to collect soul in a later room. But just keep in mind you do have that option. It does lose a little bit of time though. All right, now for this next room, you're going to go neutral when you come in, and then you're going to dash and hold left. And there's a little ceiling boost here. So you saw I got like a lot of fall speed after that dash. It's because I'm dashing into this ceiling right here. It's not necessary, but it will save a little bit of time if you get to the ground sooner, which means you can pre-jump sooner. And you're just going to pogo that guy and dash left. You want to make it over this platform so that you don't land on it. But if you do, it's not a big deal. Okay, here we want the smallest pre-jump possible, but the smallest pre-jump is actually still too big, so we're going to cut the minimum jump height even shorter by upslashing the ceiling, and that'll look like this. Alrighty, so I mentioned that little guy earlier that we killed for soul. If you don't kill him, you're going to collect the soul in this next room. It's faster to collect than this next room just by a very small amount. So if you do want to do this strat, you can do this instead. And that dash is just going to be buffered off of those mushrooms. It'll always give you that weird horizontal or like diagonal dash thing. If you don't want to do that strat, you can just simply dash, pogo dash. Alright, so this is the explosion pogo that I recommend to beginners. It's the slowest and easiest. It only loses less than a second, so it's a pretty good option. You're going to dash when the spore fires, and then you're going to tap left. The tap left is not precise, just tap left. And then there's a visual cue you're going to use. So there's this big mushroom here, there's this one to the right, and then there's a third one, which is hard to see while it's paused, but there's a third one right here. And there's a dark spot between these three. When the spore is on top of that dark spot, we're going to jump. And then we're going to pogo the explosion at the top of our jump, pogo the spore at the top of our jump, then pogo the explosion, then dash left. This version is the hardest and the fastest. It is the other one I would recommend if you are not doing the basic one. This is what most top runners will be doing in their runs. There's variations on this, and there's a lot of ways to do it. This is just the way I've seen and the way I do it the most. We are going to hit it once, hit it twice, and then inventory drop, walk right, and fireball this. You want to fireball this as high as possible. Just be aware that the higher, the riskier, so sometimes you'll miss the explosion. It is a tight sequence of inputs. It is like very fast, and I don't recommend it to beginners because it's just really hard to do. And it also takes more soul since you have to use the fireball. That's partly made up for by hitting the spore twice. Alright, so for this room, I mentioned Overbind at the start of the tutorial. This is one of the places it's applicable. So if you just hold up with your character, you can look up. But if you want to look up quickly, what you need to do for this room, you need to right analog stick up. which you can use overbind to bind. If you're on controller, you can just press right analog stick up. So that's going to be applicable in this room at the end before grabbing claw. So for this room, I'm just going to show you the most time-tested and consistent strat that most runners do. There are faster strats, but they're much riskier. So I'm going to just do the movement, and I'll give you a diagram on screen of all the visual cues I use, because there's a lot in this room. We look up for the Mantis. We're looking at the visual cues here. Alright, so for most of the split, it's just movement, so I'm going to just show you the movement, and you can try to copy it. There's not too much to say. In this room, it is worth noting that you do have to stop holding right for a brief moment. After you dash off here, if you keep holding right the whole time, you will accidentally cling this platform sometimes, and that'll lose fall speed, so you want to make sure you don't do that. So we are going to get 6 hits of soul in the split. That's the first one. You do need all 6 for the Gruz Mother upcoming. Alright, so this room's a good time to note about inventory dropping. Not every inventory drop we do is to gain fall speed. We won't actually reach the fall speed cap here, so inventory dropping won't give us any speed, but we will inventory drop to cut our dash short, which will just let us start falling before the dash ends, so we don't have to wait out the dash timer. And we won't actually reach the fall speed cap. We're just going to immediately close it and get a hit of it. Soul on the Aspen. Alright, let's talk about Gruz Mother. So there's only one big technique that you need to worry about on Gruz Mother, which is about pogoing. So I recommend you just set a save state right here to practice. So when you're fighting Gruz Mother, you're going to nail cancel her 3 times. So nail fireball, nail fireball, nail fireball. And then you're going to give her 6 nail hits. The 6th one will kill. You just need to worry about making sure that all 6 of those come out as fast as possible. And you will also need to make sure that your nail cancels are good, because you can lose time if they're not good, and you can also sometimes miss the fireball if they're not fast. So practice this, just getting your fireballs out as fast as possible. For this, you should have about 6 soul. Actually, you should have exactly 6 soul. So I'll show you what that looks like. And as you can see, she flew away from me and I missed that nail hit. You gotta react to that. It is pretty hard to react to, so don't get down on yourself. If you miss a nail hit, it's okay. But if she flies up like that, you will need to pogo her and just follow her to the ceiling. Sometimes she makes it really easy and she just flies forward or down, and you don't actually have to pogo at all. But if she does fly up, that's what it's gonna look like. Alright, so it's worth noting with Gruz Mother as well, that if she dies in the ceiling, what will actually happen, you'll see I only get 40 geo here. The rest of the geo is actually in the ceiling, but no worry, you can just jump up and grab it like that. It just gets stuck in the hitbox up there. Just be aware the hitbox is pretty much lined up with the top of these like half circles, so that's where you need the dash. You can see it if you open hitboxes like that. Now let's talk about cleanup. So when you kill Gruz Mother, she will fly away from the direction she's facing. So if she's looking this way, like she is right now, she'll fly to the right. If she's looking the other way, she'll fly to the left. You want her on the right, so you want to always try to kill her while she's facing left. The reason is because when her babies drop geo, you want to be able to get the geo on this side and then just leave through the gate. If they're on this side, then you got to dash across the arena and you'll lose some time. So after she dies, she'll do this little like jiggle on the ground like that. So that was the first one. After the second one ends, you're going to buffer 8 nail slashes, which can be hard when you start playing the game, but you're going to need to get a feel for buffering nail slashes because it's important for the entire game and especially the boss fights. But you can also use it to time strats. So when the second jiggle ends, we're going to do 8 nail slashes, then jump, and around the height of like the top of this statue thing in the background, we're going to fireball and then fall a little bit and look where the Gruzzers are and fire the second one reactively. It is worth noting that it's much better to miss ones down here than it is to miss ones up here. So if you can aim for fireballing too high on the start, it's actually much better than fireballing too low. And that's because if the Gruzzers get away from you up here, you're going to have to jump, up slash, jump, up slash, and then you're going to chase them around, and sometimes there's 2, and you got to do it 2 more times. It can be really awkward. Whereas if they're down here, you can just walk forward and slash twice, and it'll only lose a second or so. So I'll show you the strat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's what it looks like optimally. Well, not optimally, because I missed 1. But the ideal is you get all of them in 2 fireballs. If not, you're going to have to clean up whatever you have left with your nail. Okay, so here's the walking storage. So the setup for this walking storage is going to be after you fireball the last guy, you're going to up slash 4 times and then jump toward the upper middle of this gate and just dash through the gate. That'll give you walking storage. I believe this is the first walking storage in the run, so I'll explain right now what that is. Basically, you can store the state of being on the wall and it'll preserve your speed. So in this case, your dash speed, and it'll just keep you moving at dash speed all the way down until you hit the ground. And that'll save around 0.3 here. You don't have to do it. I'll show you what the movement looks like without it afterward. But yeah, so kill this guy, and then we're going to buffer 4 nail slashes afterward, and then jump and dash. Now, it's worth noting for this walking storage that this will only really save time if you land on the ground here, because if you wall jump here, which is really easy to do, that's why you need to jump not too high on this gate. You need to not wall jump off of this, because if you wall jump off this, it sends you back to the left, and you're losing the time save that you just got from the walking storage. So it's not a big deal if it happens. You will just pretty much break even with not doing the walking storage. But you do want to aim to be landing on the ground here, so you can just jump forward and dash. And here's what the movement looks like if you're not doing the walking storage. Okay, so the position you want to press up to interact with Salubri here is about where I'm standing right here. I use this long hanging thing right here as a visual cue. The reason this is important is because if you just mash up coming into this room, you can actually lose some time. So your normal walking speed is 8.3. For some reason, if you interact with her here and have to walk into it, your knight's walking speed there is actually 6. So you're actually just walking up slower if you interact with her in a spot where the game forces you to walk. And that'll happen on the other side as well. It'll forces you to walk back when you interact. So you want to interact where you just immediately are in the cutscene. So I use this hanging thing as a visual cue for that. And we're just going to buy shaman stuff here. The other important thing worth noting here is that the point at which your shade will actually spawn in the correct spot is around this door right here. You can see this door in the background. If you're like on top of this door, maybe like on the right half of it, the shade will spawn where you need it, which is over on the right. If you're to the left of this, your shade will spawn, I believe, up in the arena, and that will be completely useless to you. So do not let that happen. You absolutely need to die to the right of the door. Quick note, you need to make sure you remember to equip Shaman Stone. So when you wake up, you're just going to immediately scroll to the right and hit Shaman Stone. It shouldn't actually lose any time because your character is still waking up, but you do need to make sure you go fast enough that you can get off the bench as soon as you normally would be able to. Alright, Shade Skip. So there's only one main strat that I see people do here. There's only one strat you really should be doing, and I'll show you what that looks like, and then I will go over exactly how to do it. Alright, so let's talk about it for a second. So the upslash is important because you need to get the shade to 1 hit away from dying. You have more than enough height to use only one pogo. You shouldn't be pogoing twice because it can get awkward and he can start fireballing you and it can mess your trick up. So you do need to do the upslash here. This upslash here is really just a timing thing that I do. I've seen some other people do it as well. It kind of just helps me feel out the rhythm of the dashes. Because I don't typically buffer that one. But yeah, then for here, we're going to jump, slide down, then wall jump once, and then jump left. So it looks like this. So that's what that looks like. I will note that like the biggest thing I see beginners mess up when they're practicing this is they just wait so long for the shade to get there that when they actually dash to the left, they have to avoid dashing into the shade, which is not something you should need to be worrying about. The ideal with this is that you're actually pogoing the side of the shade. So you can see when you swing your nail, the hitbox comes out in front of you. It's not just down. You want to be pogoing so that you're directly in front of the shade. You pogo and then start moving right. You don't want to be above the shade. So that means when you dash left, your dash should already have ended and the shade should still be to the left of you. You need to go much earlier than most beginners typically feel like they have to wait. If the shade gives you a fireball like this, sometimes you won't be able to recover it. In this instance, I might have been able to get it, but just be aware, there's a chance the shade fireballs you. There's nothing you can do if that happens. You just gotta wait and then do your best to recover and dash back and hit the trick again. Alright, so now for Blue Lake. Blue Lake is going to be probably the biggest application of Walking Storage in the run. This way is going to be a little bit different than how we get Walking Storage with the gate. So what we're going to do is we need to get into a position where we're standing very, very close to the wall, but not fully touching it. There's a couple ways to do it, so I'll show you what that looks like. This is standing very close to the wall. You can see my hitbox is not quite touching it. And that means when I jump, neutral jump specifically, you can't hold the direction before you jump. So jump neutrally and then move afterward. And the game still thinks you're on the wall. The reason we do it here is because the water actually preserves it. So normally when you touch the ground, you lose it. But in this instance, we can use it to get all the way across the entire Blue Lake a lot faster. So I'll show you all 3 setups that are commonly used, and then I'll get into the move-in afterward. Alright, so this is the fastest version. We call this 1/. I recommend for beginners that you skip it the 3/, which is the easiest version. It doesn't lose too much time, but this is the fastest one. So what we're going to be doing is dashing off and then dashing to the left and then nailing after we get caught. So we're going to get caught on this little corner right here and then slash the wall afterward without touching the direction. And then again, without touching the direction, we're just going to dash in place and that'll put us in Walking Storage position. So from here, what you're going to do is jump neutrally. You need to make sure you only start pressing directions after the jump. And then we're going to hold right. We're going to cut this corner as close as we can. But without touching it. If you touch it, you'll lose Walking Storage. And same goes for this little ceiling over here. So make sure you're low enough when you dash that you're not touching that. But you're going to jump and hold right through the corner and then dash to the right. As soon as you do the dash, anytime during the dash, really, you can switch to holding left, and that'll make you cling to the wall and preserve your speed after the dash. Then we're going to buffer another dash after that. So I'll show you what that looks like. I did switch to left before the dash, which is an option, but it's a little bit safer to just hold right through the dash. That's what it looks like. Alright, so now we have 3/. 3/ is the most basic go-to, easy, beginner strat for this Walking Storage, and I absolutely recommend you do this instead of just dashing across Blue Lake. You're going to want to do the little pre-jump there. And then once you get to here, you're going to jump and slash this wall twice. once on the way up, once on the way down, then jump in place again and slash one more time, then dash. And that'll get you to here, and then from here, you just jump and press right, and then dash, and then you can start holding left. All right, so depending on which wall cling storage you do, you'll end up in the waters in a slightly different spot. For one slash, you'll end up about as far as the left as you can be if you do it optimally, and for 1 and 2 slash, you're going to end up a little closer to here. So with that being said, you can adjust accordingly the height of your dashes if you want to get more or less, but what you're going to do is just try to line it up so that by the time you get to here, first of all, you want to go as low as possible to get the fastest room, but you want to try to line it up so when you get to here, you end up with exactly enough room to jump out of this right here and not brush this edge, because if you brush this wall right here when you jump out, you'll lose your wall cling storage and you won't get the extra one at the end. So you do that, and then if you are very precise, you can actually jump the first frame you touch the ground out of this. You can jump and chain it once or even twice more to get out of this room. But that's a very small time save, and it's no big deal if you don't hit it. Okay, this room. So it's pretty straightforward. You do this. You can hit this lever through the ground, so it's just worth looking at the hitbox when you do, so you'll have an understanding of it. But you're just going to hit the lever through the ground, and then after you fall, you're going to jump to the right. And what you want to do here is jump and dash as high as possible off the wall without going over it. So, like, that would be too high. There you go. And that was just about perfect. If you're too low, you end up not making it up, or sometimes you end up corner correcting like that, and that'll lose a bit of time. So optimally, right here, and then you just jump up to here, jump out. All right, so when you wake up in Dreamplats, you're gonna dash left. Make sure you go left because it's shorter than right, and then you're going to inventory drop, and this will make the seer spawn a little bit sooner, and it'll also briefly pause the timer when you're reloading the room. So it saves a little time for free. And then we're going to sit about here. Just take a note of this position if you want to do Dream Dash. If you don't, you can just hop up the platforms normally at the start, because it is a little bit risky to do this strat, but I'll teach you how to do it. So the seer is going to appear, and then she's going to sit there for a bit and then start moving. As soon as you see her start moving, make sure you react and do not proactively jump. Like, don't predict when she's going to start moving. As soon as you see her start moving, you can jump and then dash at the peak of your height, and you'll land on the platform. So I'll show you what that looks like here. All right, Dream Dash or no Dream Dash, you're going to get to here, and the rest of Dreamplats is going to look like this. When you get to here, note this hitbox. All right, so once we get to this screen, we're going to mash pause. So you get to here, we're going to mash pause, make sure we pause the game. And then once you're in the pause menu, I will start holding right, and then unpause and immediately start dashing. Keep in mind here, when you're in the load, do not let go of right. It is important that you don't let go of right when you're in the load, because otherwise your character will start standing up and you don't want that. So I'm holding right, and then start dashing. And then I'm going to be laying down. You can turn left. You need to make sure you turn left. You'll see the save symbol pops up here in this room. If you turn left too late, I think after hitting the ground is actually the point, but just turn left early so you to avoid it. You'll actually get an infinite load after Watcher Knights in the run if you don't get the save symbol. So, and you get the save symbol by turning left. But yeah, so when you're laying down, you have infinite fall speed. If you let go of right in the load, you will get up, and you'll actually lose your infinite fall speed before you get to the bottom, or uncapped fall speed, sorry. And then yeah, you're just gonna dash left and dash out of this room. All right, so this room, we're just gonna do a little dash pattern. We're gonna stop a little short, and then we're gonna dash up slash into the load so that we're hugging the wall but not clinging to it, and I'll show you why that's important. All right, when we rub up against this wall, we're actually storing the wall into the next room, and if we jump on the first frame we land and dash right, we get to keep wall cling storage. It's not always a 1-frame window, sometimes it's a 2-frame window, and occasionally it's also just impossible. Okay, now here's where overbind comes in. So if you don't get the wall cling storage, you jump early or jump late, you're going to jump to the right, and then you're going to be holding left during the dash to keep your momentum. But at the dash end, if you don't have it, you're going to start walking left. And then you have to react to walking left, and then it messes up your dash alignments, and then this happens, and it's really bad. So in order to avoid that, you can use overbind to bind left analog stick left or left analog stick right. In this case, we're going to use the left analog stick left. This will allow us, I don't have it on my input display, but this will allow us to move left and right with our analog stick rather than with our left and right keys. So when you're not doing anything, they basically serve the exact same purpose, but in this case, your normal left and right keys actually override the normal left and the analog stick left and right keys. So if I'm holding right and then press left analog stick left, it doesn't do anything. But if I just actually press it normally while I'm neutral, it'll move left. So what you're gonna do is jump and then dash. You can actually hold it from the start of the room. You're gonna jump and dash to the right, and then you're gonna start holding left analog stick left. And that will, if you miss, you can see I'm still going right. But if you have wall cling storage, you can see in the clip before that I'm actually still holding right, but I'm attached to the wall and I'm preserving my momentum. So if you don't do that and you just hold right, even if you have wall cling storage, you won't get the momentum. So that's going to be useful to prevent you from losing time if you miss. It'll also actually make you fall a little bit faster, like vertically, while you're doing the wall cling storage. So keep that in mind. As for this guy down here, you want to make sure you're dashing under this because you can lose wall cling storage if you clip this ceiling right here or this wall. But if he's on the left, you can actually just dash over him and completely ignore him and finish the room. You'll see in the clip I showed before that I had to wall jump to get over him. But if that happens, it's no biggie. So now going into this room, there's an orange box for this lever, and you actually can't go down if you're not inside the orange box, even if you're hitting the lever. So you can see I'm not inside the orange box, and so make sure you have like the visual cue for when you dash in that you wait till you're in the orange box before hitting the lever. Okay, now this next room, when the elevator gets to the bottom, it's gonna like slam against the ground. That's our cue to do 2 nail slashes and then jump and dash. So 1, 2, jump dash, and that'll give us wall cling storage. We just take it out of the room. Okay, so this is one of the hardest rooms in the split. There's a lot going on. It's also over 20 seconds long. I recommend the best way to learn most about this room is to just learn through experience and through watching other runners, because there's so many patterns and places that enemies can be in that you just kind of have to feel it out and get a feel for what to do. That being said, I'll show you the core essentials of what to do in the room right now. All right, so to start, what we're going to need is 6 hits before we get to the relic. So we're going to try to get as much soul as possible. So this is one way to do it. You can sometimes upslash this guy like I did there. Sometimes you can upslash this guy as you're falling past him. Regardless, you're going to have to just practice a bunch of patterns for this and try to get 3 hits of soul if you can. Sometimes you only get 2. Whether or not, depending on your position, you'll either dash off or do a little pre-jump off of this. I'm going to dash off. I dash here. You hit this guy if he's there, then hit the elevator switch and dash down. So there's 3 guys here. There's a big guy, a little guy, and then when you get to the right, a second little guy will spawn on the left. You need to get to the right of all 3 of them, and then you're going to fireball left twice. That is the goal for every single pattern, but how you do that is different depending on the pattern. And again, there's so many patterns for these guys. You have to just play a lot and watch other people and watch what they do and like watch top runs, etc. So that's what I do for that pattern. We're going to pick up the relic. Then we're going to dash left, grab all this geo, do a little pre-jump. And then, ideally, that's how it goes. You can, if you want to, do a little cling to this wall before you dash. Some people find that easier. Personally, I find it actually easier to just not do the cling and just dash off and then dash left. You can, even if the big guy is here, you can still make it under. You can see, like, my hitbox fits over the big guy. It's a little precise, but any of the characters or any of the little enemies here you can dash over. You don't need soul from them, really. You don't need geo either. You just need to get past them, so that's all that matters. If they're out of your way, perfect. It's good enough. Okay, this room, we have a visual cue. You want to, if you can see in the background, there's like a little dark spot at the tip of my nail. I'm like standing in front of it right now. That's where we're going to do our dash. So we're going to dash in, and then I'll do a second dash there. And that'll make sure that no matter where these positions are, we're never in a spot where we can't pogo this guy. The only time we can't pogo this guy is if he's too far to the right, and if he's too far to the right, it's totally fine. So we need to do that, and then if he's there, you know, we'll pogo him, just pogo past, and then make our way to this room. Okay, so Gorgeous Husk, first you're going to want to take note of where your character stops when you walk into the room, because this is the first frame you control. So this big guy is important because we only want to fireball this row once, and sometimes you won't get a double on this guy. So ideally you hit him twice because he takes 2 nail hits and a fireball to kill. But we're going to kill these guys on the way back. So the goal is to get 2 slashes on this guy, and then go kill Gorgeous Husk, and then fireball on the way back, and he'll just die without needing a double. So there's 2 ways to do this. I'll take you through the consistent way to get it on both patterns, since he can be on the left or the right, and then I'll take you through the easier but less consistent way that only works on one of the patterns. You walk into this room, you're going to stay neutral until you start your first dash, and then during your first dash, you can start holding left, and then you just buffer all your dashes. And that'll give you that little ceiling boost right there. And then from there, you just buffer all your dashes until this one right here. This one, if you buffer all of them and you do the strat perfectly, you do need to delay this one a little bit, just so you have enough height to get onto this wall. You don't want to like, slip down and fall. There is a rare instance where if you get bad TFT, which is out of your control, you can do this correctly and you'll actually just drift past this platform and not get the ceiling boost. In that case, you will buffer the dash off of here, and then delay your dash until you land on this platform and dash off the platform. You can dash twice and it'll only lose about 0.1. Alright, so if you're not doing the Welcoming Storage strat, you're just gonna walk through the door, and as the door closes, you're just gonna walk through, jump, dash, dash, and then 2 jumps out. You'll just have to get used to the timing for this. You definitely don't want to fall in the hole, so just be safe and make sure you don't jump over the hole. You can jump high if you want. If you do get lost, you can always come all the way to the right, and you can slash the wall. You can see these little like particles that appear. That will help you see where you are. But you can slash against this wall, and then just jump, neutral jump, then jump to the left. And that will get you out if you get lost. Alright, so your soul is going to matter here because you're about to fight Watcher Knights. You should have been collecting soul throughout the split on just various enemies. You should also have gotten some from the flying guys right before the lever skip. But depending on your soul here, you can do different openings on this guy. So you want to aim to have 8. So if you have 5, you can get 3. If you have 6, you can get 2. And if you have 7, you can just get 1. Or if you don't care that much about the soul, you can just get 1 either way because it's the fastest. So I'll show the movement to get 1, and then I'll show you the backups to get 2 and 3. So that's the movement to get 1. There's the movement to get 2. And there's 3. And here's a backup if you really need 4 hits of soul. If you make it to here, you're going to dash left, jump, and forward slash. You don't want to up slash because 1, it's slower, and 2, it can sometimes just randomly miss the elevator for some reason. So make sure you're jumping and forward slashing, and then you're going to 1, 2, 3, 4 wall jumps on the left, and then just dash until you get to this wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wall jumps here. and dash right. And then you're gonna need to fireball the ceiling. There's like a breakable ceiling here. The way I do it is I jump and then turn right and fireball to the right. Now, sometimes it'll just miss, like you see there. We don't exactly know why. Pretty much every method has had somebody claim that it's completely consistent, and also somebody else who claims it doesn't work for them. But this is just how I do it. It's tend to work pretty well for me. You just want to get as close to the ceiling as possible. And the benefit of fireballing to the right is it'll push you back toward the wall, which means you can immediately do 1, 2, 3 big wall jumps to get to here. Now, once you land here, you want to immediately jump and do another dash, and that's so you're in the air when you hit slash this thing. The reason for that is because you can see that the hitbox is like here. I would be hitting it here if I was a little bit higher, but I'm not, and so you want to be in the air. So when you do this dash, ideally, you'll hit the chandelier immediately. On your way into the Watcher Knights, you're going to do 2 dashes left, and you can up slash to avoid clinging on this wall right here. This up slash will allow you to hug the wall without losing your fall speed on it. And then just dash and dash till this right gate closes. Okay, so it might feel wrong to just shoot your fireballs away into nothing, but when you finish this boss, you're going to want to fire away any extra soul you have so you don't accidentally do it when you're trying to absorb the Dreamer. So there also is a strat to dash through this gate as it opens. I'll leave it on screen what to search in the strats channel on the Hollow Knight Discord if you're interested in that strat. It saves about 0.2. But I'll just show you the movement coming up here. So it's just going to be wall jumps. Make sure you count the right amount of wall jumps, and then you jump out of them. Alright, so this room is a lot of wall jumping. We're going to start by dash, jump, dash, hit. And then after we hit the elevator, it's going to be wall jump, up slash, and jump. So this section is just straight wall jumping. You want to keep your jumps a pretty consistent height. The faster you jump, the better, and you want to keep your represses as short as possible. So you want to be not holding jump for as little amount of time as possible. I'll show you what that looks like, and you can adjust your height at the end based on a visual cue. So the visual cue I'll use at the end is directly across from where I'm standing here. If you just do a neutral jump from here, you will make it around. So you jump without holding a direction, and then press left. And then you're just going to jump your way up here. If you don't want to do that neutral jump, which is totally understandable, you can dash to the right and then just go up this way. And then as soon as you dash here, you're going to dash, 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 and just Dream Nuller in. Okay, so you can hold heal at any point in this room as long as you haven't healed between Mantis Claw quit out and this Dreamer. If you have healed, you have to press heal at the normal time, but if not, then you can press it any time in this room. So the movement here is going to be dash, and then you buffer a dash. This will always work. It's safe as long as you buffer it. And then jump, dash, dash. You just hit Lurie in, and you can see I'm already holding heal. It just works. As long as you haven't healed earlier in the split. As soon as we can skip this cutscene with the mask, I'm going to start mashing here. We skip it, and then we immediately can pause, and then, you know, don't enter the menu, just quit out. From this menu, re-enter, and we're going to tap Dream Knell until we hear the noise, and then dash left. Now, there's not really a good cue for when to close your inventory for this drop. So I'm going to recommend the safe strat, but I'll show both the safe and the fast strats. If you're able to find a good cue for when to close the inventory, feel free to post it in the Discord. I'm sure people would love to have it. But to start, when we get to here, we're going to do jump up slash to hit the lever, and then we're going to up slash again to rub up against the wall without clinging. Then inventory. Dash, pogo dash to refresh our dash, and then we're going to dash and up slash into the load again. And here's the harder strat, same thing at the start. Okay, so I mentioned before the use of overbind in this run in a couple different places. Here we're going to need a left analog stick right bind. That will allow you to cling to the wall while still moving to the left. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into this room with walking stored from the previous room. And again, we need to dash, ideally when we're interpolated onto the floor. So it's going to be before we actually hit the floor. We'll be like right about here. Not right about there. You get the idea. We're going to be in the air just above the ground before touching the ground. And we're going to dash on as early as possible. And after the dash finishes, we're going to be holding left. And you need to press your left analog stick right bind. You need to make sure the dash is already finished when you start pressing it, because otherwise you will go flying into this wall and lose your walking storage. So you're going to finish that. You're going to hold left, hold left and press left analog stick right. And then once you get under this, you're going to do the walking storage, and I'll show you what that looks like now. Now that we're here, we're going to dash left and then down slash its chest. And then immediately do this, jump inside the chest. It's not very wide in here, although it does look much wider. It's actually a very small gap. So you can just land here, walk left, and then immediately jump out. And then from here, just dash out. Your dashes should line up perfectly so the inventory drop here. And then there is actually a visual cue for this inventory close. We're going to dash, and then when your character passes this window, so when you get to the black part behind the wall, that's when you're going to close inventory, and then you can hold left. So then you can dash under like that. Free jump. Dash to the right. Hit the lever, and then there's going to be an elevator walking storage here. If you don't want a walking storage, you can just do this movement here, and then inventory drop. Okay, so elevator walking storage can save us about 0.2 here. I'll explain how it works. It's a little complicated, but it's not too hard. So when an elevator is moving, you can walk into one of the walls, and then while you're walking into it, you're going to dash and then let go of your movement. So you're neutral, and then you're going to do a neutral jump and dash out of the elevator, and then you can start holding directions. So I'll show you what that looks like going up. Hold left, dash, neutral jump, and go. So that'll give you walking storage. You can do it on the way down here as well. So we're going to do it here, and the cue for when to do the jump is this little notch in the wall. You can see here. And you can chain it that way, or you can do the walking storage where you just do this. And you just do that. I recommend the second version because it is a lot more consistent. You are going to need to use the UI as a cue for when you're actually entering the room. You can also use audio. This is what it looks like here. We're going to do dash left and up slash, and then do this movement. The up slash is to avoid clinging on the wall so you don't lose fall speed. And then once we get to here, obviously you're gonna have to do this in the dark in the real run. So you gotta practice that a good bit. But we get to here, and then we're gonna pre-jump. You can up slash this guy, and then there's a couple different movements to get past this guy depending on where he is. We can sometimes get an up slash on that guy when we're passing him, so it's gonna look like this. And then there's a cape here hanging from the background, and once we get fully past this cape is when we're gonna do our dash. We dash into the ceiling for that little ceiling boost, walk off, and dash out of the room. Here's the room all together. Okay, so this room, you're gonna just try to get to the lever as soon as possible, and then we can hit this walking storage. You can actually get walking storage from just moving through a gate while like jumping upward. As long as you're moving up, you'll get the walking storage. So in this case, you can jump and move through it. The ceiling is a little bit higher outside the gate, so it's a little bit easier to make it over this gap right here if you jump through it and then dash once you get past the gate with the walking storage, instead of dashing through the gate as it opens. So again, we just got to get to the lever as fast as possible. Sometimes this guy will run to the left and you can actually just kill him like that. You can aim to chain this walking storage if you jump on the first frame you land, but it's no big deal if you don't. You want to usually you'll end up talking on the left side and then dash out of the room. You don't have to slow down at all to hit this lever. You can just hit it while you're dashing. Okay, so we have a couple options for this room. The guy can either spawn frozen or he can spawn walking. So you just need to pay attention and react. The general strat that people use for the frozen spawn is as such. And the strat there is you're just going to dash as soon as possible when you get into the room, buffer a dash, and then buffer a jump, and buffer another dash to get over his head. It is possible that he jumps slightly backward and hits you, so if you don't want to do that, I'll show the strat to avoid getting hit 100% of the time, but it will lose a bit. And here's the safe strat for when he's frozen. And like I said, sometimes he'll be walking, so here's what you got to do there. Okay, for this room, what we're going to do is just try to hit this lever as soon as possible. And the cue for when you can swing is at the top of this little arch here. You don't want to match this, you definitely want to time it. Now we're just going to match as fast as possible.
What? What is this? Wait, am I just stuck in this menu? Wait.
Now that we're done mashing, we're just going to dash to the left, and then once we get to here, we're going to do a little pre-jump and dash into the ceiling, and that'll give us speed downward. There is one little thing you can get ceiling fucked by here, which is this little thing sticking out directly above me. If you run into it, you can sometimes lose all of your downward speed, which will make it so you dash later. So you want to make sure you intentionally dash below it. I try to aim for right about here, and that'll make sure that you don't get ceiling fucked. Okay, for this room, we have a bit of a reaction strat. So we're just going to dash into here. Then we're going to look for a guy right here. You should be able to see him sometimes on the edge of this shadow. If you can't see him, then we're going to do a dash and buffer a fireball out of the dash. If you can see him, we're just going to fireball here so that we don't dash into him. It's a little bit faster to dash and shoot a fireball if he's not there, though, so we're going to dash, buffer a fireball. And then for this room, we're just going to do 2 dashes and buffer a jump. And then we're just going to go over all these guys as fast as we can. It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so for this room, it is reactable, but first we're going to dash at this black bar on the foreground, and then buffer a jump and go into this movement. You can do that movement every time if you like, but you can save just a small amount of time by reacting when this guy is on the right. And if he is on the right, you can up slash him and then go into this movement instead. Okay, for this next room, we have 2 options. For the first one and the faster one, we're going to make sure we have SOCD cleaner on, and then once we buy this, we're going to tap right twice. Shoot this fireball, and then re-enter the room. So only notes for this strat are make sure you're holding left this whole time so that you don't go neutral between turning around. That's why we need an SOCD cleaner. If you do go neutral, it can fail. And the other thing is when you shoot this fireball, make sure the fireball doesn't push you back into the load. You want to actually walk or dash into the load after the fireball, because if you do, the room can actually deload before the fireball hits the bell. So just make sure that doesn't happen. For the next of these 2 strats, SOCD cleaner won't matter. We're just going to walk in, buy the stag, dash out, dash back in, shoot a fireball, dash back out, dash back in, and then take the stag. And again, the stag menu is 1 down. Every stag in this run is going to be 1 down. So it's always just tap once down, and then go. For this room, we're going to do dash, dash, jump. And then we're gonna do 2 wall jumps and hit this lever. When I say hit the lever, I mean as early as possible, and that means through the floor. So I'll show you what it looks like when you do it as fast as possible. Now for the next room, we're gonna want to bench. It does not matter whether or not you bench, and jump dash to the bench so you're not walking on the dirt myth ground because it's really slow. You are gonna want to bench before Sly. It's not any faster to bench after Sly or before Sly, it doesn't matter. But for purposes of comparing to other people, when you're improving, you might want to compare to ComSob, and so you have like an idea of how fast your split is compared to the community best. And the community best has just agreed to always bench before Sly. So we're going to bench before Sly and then another jump dash to here. Okay, so for Sly, I believe I mentioned this at Saluba earlier, but your walk speed is, as shown here on the left number, it is 8.3 when you walk. Again, when you talk to NPCs and walk up to them, it's 6, which is actually slower. And for Sly, there's an additional note that when you talk to him here, it forces you to walk forward. And if you'll note the knight's position here, you can actually talk to him from here, which is further to the left, and it won't make you walk forward. So don't mash up and interact as early as possible. You want to time it, and I just use this vase in the background as a cue to talk to him here. And then we're just going to do 5 down presses and buy Lumafly Lantern. And then you can hit heal or escape to get out. For this room, it'll just be 3 dashes and enter. Okay, future Leah here. The fastest strat for this room now uses wall clink storage to save about 0.2. So we're going to get corner wall clink storage because elevator wall clink storage doesn't work on this elevator. And it'll look like this. Note that this strat optimally uses overbind as well, so you're going to want to use analog left, which is the same key used for like resting ground wall clink storage earlier. The goal is to get to the ground as fast as possible, and that'll make you fall slightly faster, so it saves a bit of time. And then for here, we're going to cut our dash short on the wall as the elevator moves down, so that we get just a partial dash, because to the stag, it's going to be 2 dashes and change. So I like to hug this right wall and go neutral. And then I wait till the knight's eye lines up with, I'll just show the visual cue on screen here. And then I dash right there. And it'll cut my dash short and get to here. And then again, 1 down for the stag. For the next one, it's a pretty involved room, and especially difficult for beginners, so make sure you practice this one hard. But it is a pretty good litmus test for how good your vertical movement is. So I'll just show the movement now and I'll break it down afterwards. Okay, for this room, we're just going to react to where this guy is. If he's here, we're just going to pogo dash. And then buffer all these dashes. And when you get to here, you want to walk a bit because it gives you extra walk speed. And jump, and make sure you buffer the jump off this because it gives you less walk speed. Then we get to here, jump, pogo, and wall jump into here, facing right. Now for the other RNG, we're just going to free jump, dash, dash, and do this movement over him. The rest of the room is the same. So we're going to try to get this miner to throw the axe. In order to do that, we got to aggro him by landing here. And then we're going to dash off the wall and go up. Keep in mind, the axe kind of lingers in the air for a good amount of time, so don't rush it too much. And it's not always your fault if you miss, because sometimes if the miner walks all the way forward to like here, and then he throws the axe forward, it'll just be impossible. If you're struggling with the jump here, you can always dash into it after you pogo the axe. And that'll make it a bit more lenient, but you'll lose a tiny bit of time. And then once you go up here, you're going to dash, dash, and then you have the choice between a third dash and do however many wall jumps this is, or you can dash twice and jump to here. And the visual cue is where this ramp starts. There's like a little ball on this table or half circle, and then there's a ramp, and I jump when I get to the ramp. And that'll save about 0.1 over the left side strat. Okay, for the next room, we have a couple strats. We have the damage tank strat, which is the easiest. And that'll always damage tank you to the left as long as you do it right. The next strat is the damageless strat. This is the fastest and also doesn't take damage, in case you're worried about your health. This will involve doing a trans dash below this crawling guy, just like this. If you don't know what a trans dash is or how to do it, I'll leave a detailed video in the description that explains how to do a trans dash, aka FKA wall boost. So check the description for that. Okay, for this room, you're just going to jump dash, and then this foreground texture, it's got kind of a peculiar pattern on it. When I get to there, I'm going to jump and turn around and jump. Okay, next room's pretty hard to optimize. We're going to start with buffered dashes. Make sure you start your first buffered dash here. Well, the first one's not buffered, but make sure you start your first dash here or as soon as possible. So that you get your dash back when you dash off of here. Then we're going to dash in inventory. I like to use this shiny thing right here as a cue. When that's about to go off screen, I close my inventory. And then I dash. And you'll notice if you dash too high, that was just barely too high in this corridor, you'll hard fall here. Ideally, you want to dash about here. And then open inventory again and fall. The optimal movement is closing your inventory here and then getting the ceiling boost on this and dashing again. Unfortunately, all the cues for closing this inventory are really bad. If you can find one that works for you, that's great. A lot of people just time it feel-based and close inventory appropriately. Make sure you press right to get off this bench so that you don't C-dash in the wrong direction. Then we're going to C-dash. And I like to cancel my C-dash about halfway between Tiso and these houses in the background. You can also maybe use this step as a reference for a Q. So I'm going to do that. Then hold left here, and that'll turn you around. You don't want to turn around before the load, because it has a chance to lose 1 frame. Once you land, you're not going to want to move either. You're just going to C-dash without moving. The reason is because if you move, it gives you a chance to accidentally C-dash glitch into this guy, which is where instead of your C-dash killing the enemy just hits you out of your C-dash, and that'll lose a bunch of time and health. Alright, so for this room, we're going to go here. You can sometimes get an up slash there. Then we're going to immediately get into this corridor. Make sure you don't inventory on the left side, because if you're too fast, you can sometimes hit this tick-tick, and then it's bad news. So we're going to inventory, and there's 2 carts. There's a cart here, and there's another cart below it. When the second cart goes off screen, we're going to close inventory and hold left. And you'll see it there. If you do mess up, you might not want to re-inventory, because these tick-ticks can accidentally just like hit you over and over and over again, because they're all on like a similar cycle. So just be careful of that. Okay, so I'm going to ramble here for a bit about a particular strat. If you don't want to hear that, you can just do this movement. It doesn't lose very much time. Just inventory and C-dash out, and you can just skip ahead. Okay, so in Hollow Knight, when you slide down a wall, you slide pretty slow. But if you hold left and right on the wall, you can actually slide at full fall speed. However, because we have SOCD cleaner, our left and right override each other. So in order to hold left and right, we're going to need to use Overbind, which again is in the description and it's free. You can hold left analog and right, or right analog and normal left. That is D-pad if you're on controller. And that'll allow us to slide down the wall. But when you start sliding down the wall, it'll reset your fall speed. You'll notice I'll accelerate as I slide down the wall. However, this speed is actually stored as long as you don't cling to a wall without holding left, right before the next time. So I'll slide down the wall and see I didn't cling to a wall and I have full fall speed. However, if I slide down a wall again, now I have to accelerate. So we're going to abuse this in this room by entering the room while holding analog left. And then we're going to hold normal right, and that'll just override it, so you don't have to let go of the left right away. You actually need to hold it so that you get the left-right slide. And then once you get down here, your speed is already stored on the wall. So we're just going to hold normal left, and then analog right, and we'll immediately have full fall speed as soon as we touch the wall. And that'll be the fastest way to get through this room. The only thing to do in this room is stop the C-dash before the Gome. You want to stop as close to the Gome as possible. This fly won't ever hit you as long as you stop close to the Gome, and then we're just going to leave. Okay, I'll show the standard movement here. It's going to be dash, up, slash, dash, and then just walk off, get to this wall. We're going to do a C-dash, and we're going to cancel it before the wall. Ideally, if you don't dash into the wall, because this dash loses time, but you can dash if you need to make the distance. Then we're just going to fall. There is a faster strat if you want. Pretty much nobody goes for this, but it is certainly doable in runs. If you want to dash, dash, and then do a third dash, you can actually just make it straight here. However, it's not faster to do 3 dashes if you just do 3 dashes like that and then land here. It's better to just do 2 unless you're going for the instant wall strat. That being said, it's a pretty hard strat and it doesn't save much, so... Okay, I'll show the standard movement here. This is called Trinomi Drop. You're just going to do this, and if you want, you can up slash right here to avoid clinging to the wall. However, if you want to be completely RNG avoidant, you can also opt to, cling to this wall, so that if the jellyfish is really high, you won't get hit. Because with the up slash, you will get hit because of your fall speed. It's pretty rare that it happens though, so it's up to you. Okay, fastest movement here is called Axe Drop. We're going to dash to the left and then move back to the right of these Lumaflies. And then just continue the rest of the drop as normal. Keep in mind that this drop is notably harder, but also, again, very doable in runs. Okay, movement here is pretty simple. We're not going to hold anything into the room. We're going to do a neutral dash, and then hold left out of the dash, up slash, dash again. That dash is buffered, and then we're just going to land up here and C-dash. Be careful landing on the very edge, because it is possible, depending on the jellyfish position, to get hit through the ground by this explosion. So I like to just land about here, just to be safe. Then we're going to C-dash, and again, C-dash glitch can happen on these jellyfish, but if it does, it's just bad luck, so nothing you can do. Then we're going to cancel as close to here as possible, then just fall and dash. Okay, movement here, we're going to do a little tiny jump dash at the start of the room. I'll show you what that looks like. And that'll just give us a tiny bit of fall speed before we get to this platform. Then dash, dash, dash. And for this room, we're just going to C-dash. Notably, make sure you know the cue. I use this little like black nub below the floor. At the end of it, you can C-dash. And then we're going to up slash and fall into this load next to the wall. Okay, so for practicing the Uumuu wall cling storage, I use a kill all button, which you can find on page 8 of binds in the debug menu, at least on 1.5.11, or possibly on whatever future version you're using. It might be moved though. So we're gonna kill Uumuu. And we're gonna take note of the position I'm standing in. I think this is the easiest setup. As soon as he pops, I hold right. Then we're just gonna walk right and dash into the thing. Now, if you get too close to the wall, even if you don't cling, you can still use your wall cling lose your wall cling storage. The same applies once you get to the bottom. If you dash too close to the ceiling, even if you make it under, you can still lose your wall cling storage. So be aware of that. Then we're just gonna dash, dash, jump, jump. If you don't think you're gonna make it, or if like you think you're gonna bonk on here or something, you can always just like wall jump and then dash over to this wall, and you'll still roughly like break even with the no wall cling storage strat, which looks like this. Anyway, once we get to here, we're gonna do 2 wall jumps, and the movement's gonna look like this. And then in order to set up our position with talking to corals so we don't have to walk too much, you can get a really good position by wall jumping here and clinging to this, and then just doing a neutral dash. Or like, you can do the neutral dash off here, whatever. It's not perfect, but it gets you a pretty good position to talk to coral. And then you're gonna wait for this. I believe the closest spot you can Dream Mill Monomon is roughly about here. Okay, so the fastest movement here is going to be C-dash to Monomon, but it's a little bit hard to optimize because of the C-dash cancel, and it's only faster by 0.1. So a lot of runners just like to dash, buffer, dash, dash, dash. And then you can throw out your nail a little bit before you actually get to Monomon and move into her optimally. Then as long as you don't have a cast of soul, which you shouldn't, because you 2-cycle Uumuu, you should just be able to press cast really early. I'll throw in a note for the conditions in which you won't be able to do that on screen. And then you can just absorb. Now, any button on your keyboard is going to skip this cutscene. We're going to skip it and then immediately pause, and then exit. Okay, so when we go into this load, we're going to press C-dash. I like to wait till the screen goes black, and then wait just a bit longer, just in case. So then we're going to hold C-dash until we hear the C-dash sound. And once you hear the C-dash sound, you can just let go. It doesn't matter anymore, because that gives us early control. Unfortunately, there's no good way to teach the timing for this. You just kind of have to do it in practice until you get a feel for it, because it's all audio-based. But it's an amount of time after you hear the C-dash for the first time. I'd say like maybe a bit under a second if I had to guess. Maybe a second. But I'll try to show you what it looks like now. Should look something like that. You know, if you're not perfect with it, it's not a huge deal. But nonetheless, into this room, I'll show you the full room movement and then just break it down afterward once again.
Well, there's the thing.
But here we're just going to C-dash. And for the next turn, we're going to do 4 dashes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then forward slash. And the Q is going to be like when you're about here, covered by this foreground grass. Forward slash, up slash, and then dash. Okay, so you should have 3 soul now. So what soul collection you do in the next room is going to depend on what strat you do for the first Petra in the Petra arena coming up. So assuming you're not trying to be a top runner, at least right now, you're probably just going to want to stick to the 2/ setup. And in that case, you're going to want to do this movement. Now, assuming you're trying to go for the 1/ setup, it'll save a bit of time over the 2/ setup, and here's what you gotta do to get the extra soul you need for that strat. Keep in mind, this does lose a bit of time to the freeze frames you get from the jellyfish, but it'll save the time back later. And it's also worth noting that the way I'm getting so much downward speed is by dashing to this and getting a ceiling boost at the end of my dash. One more thing, I'm going to add some advice for what frames to aim for up here. It's kind of long and convoluted, so read that. And then, yeah, just do your best. If you need any help, feel free to ask people in the Discord. Feel free to ask me. We're just going to dash this way and try to dash as low to the ground as possible for this final one right here. And then C-dash. For this room, we're going to cancel the C-dash so that we can up/slash that guy. Then we're just going to C-dash again. Then we can turn around and slash that guy. And then we're going to C-dash again from here. That guy sometimes won't be there, like 50% of the time. If you don't get the hit, it's okay. Okay, so assuming you got the hit from the last guy, you only need to hit this Petra once. If you didn't get the hit, then you need to hit it twice. It's RNG, so you just got to learn both of these. So if you need to hit it twice, it's going to be / dash up/, and then inventory drop here and C-dash out. And ideally, it'll be like that for either strat. You won't touch the ground. You'll just fall straight down. And again, make sure you are far enough left that you don't hit that Mossy. He'll usually be like here at worst. So just be aware of that. You got to inventory pretty far left here. And then you'll sometimes C-dash left if you're like perfect here. The game doesn't actually let you turn around until a frame after you get control. So if you C-dash on the first frame after closing inventory, you'll C-dash the wrong way. So you got to C-dash frame 2. Okay, this is the strat I was talking about earlier with the Jellyfish Soul Collection room. If you are going for the 2/ strat, then you only would have hit 1 jellyfish earlier, and that's the one I recommended for if you're not trying to get top times. Then I recommend just doing this 1, 2. And the strat I would recommend for if you are trying to get top times, or if you just want the extra time save, 1. Okay, some tips for these strats, because they're very difficult. For both of them, you want to stay in their face. The way flying enemies work is that they'll accelerate away from you if you're close to them, and towards you if you're far from them. And since they start with no velocity, they'll just immediately start moving away after they spawn. So you want to stay in their face, and they will be pushed away by the nail and the fireball. Both, so don't be afraid to like get up and close. For the 1/ strat, you can just stay on the ground, although it seems like most top runners who are currently doing the strat like to do a version where they nail slash and then jump and do a little turnaround or like step back before the fireball. I'll put that on screen here. And for the 2/ strat, you also want to make sure that you get the pogo off really quickly, because if you don't get him under this metal platform, he won't be able to double. So make sure you get him under this metal platform, get the pogo off really quickly, and then buffer the next nail and do the nail cancel really quickly. I like to stop my C-dash like just to the left of this metal bar. And it is worth talking about some backup strats just in case, because you will miss this in your runs. It pretty much happens to everyone. So assuming you don't get the double, you're pretty much just going to want to try to aim to get 4 pogos or 3 pogos as fast as possible, and then try to get back over here as soon as possible, because the next Petras are going to spawn really fast. Unfortunately, if you aren't able to kill them with pogos, it can get pretty chaotic, and you just kind of have to improvise and try not to fall into the spikes. But now we have the next 2 Petras spawning. There's going to be one here and one over here. They can spawn at variable rates, so you have to account for that. Both of them are independent from each other, but because of that, the fastest strat in this room for these 2 Petras is very RNG based. So I won't show that. If you want to see it, you can check the community summit best, which will be in the description or also in the Discord. But I'll show the one that top runners seem to be liking right now, which is a fireball, trans dash into the wall, and then fireball again. It's very fast and it's very consistent. And sometimes when you fireball them, they'll double. Either way, you'll have 2 fireballs, so it shouldn't be a big deal. At top level, there's one other strat people are doing where you go for the previous strat, and if the Petra on the right spawns very quickly, then you fireball it immediately, and you react during the fireball. If the left Petra spawns quickly, you dash back to the wall, and if it spawns slowly, then you just shoot a second fireball and immediately without dashing back to the wall. For this, we're going to do a quick jump into the ceiling and then hold right as the gate opens so that we gain fall speed sooner. And then we're just going to fall into these spikes. There's a big blue hazard respawn right here, and if your character touches it at all, it's pretty lenient, but you'll respawn down here. Okay, so once we get here, we're going to /lever and walk off and buffer a jump. This jump, we're going to dash out of it. Keep in mind that this wall looks like this. And then we're going to jump, dash, and intentionally delay our wall jump so that it doesn't happen during the dash. Because if it does, we'll get a trans dash, and that'll eat some of our upward momentum. So delay your wall jump to not get a trans dash. And then we're going to do 2 wall jumps and do the movement like this. You have other options if you don't like the inputs for that strat, because it can be a little bit complicated. You can also do that. And that'll lose just a bit, but it's pretty negligible. And then we're going to jump up here and dash out. Okay, for this room, we're going to jump, dash, dash, and then we're going to turn around, inventory drop, and ideally dash left and C dash. The reason I do this turnaround at the top is to avoid accidentally landing on this platform here. It's pretty easy to mess up. So I turn around here, and then the Q for closing your inventory, I like to use these orange thorns when they're about to like go off screen like this. Though it is a pretty hard Q to see, so if you just want to find your own Q or do it field based, that's totally fine. Alright, we're going to C-dash in, and our C-dash is going to break this tusk on the ground. When we break it, that's our cue to cancel the C-dash and start falling. Try not to touch anything on the way down, and we have a bit of a blind dash to do. So break the tusk, start falling. This kind of a blind dash. You just can't see the enemies under you, but they'll never be in your way. So dash, and then up slash to not cling to the wall. Dash inventory, jump dash. And then we're going to get to here. You have the baby strat and you have the fast strat. The baby strat loses 0.4. This is what you can do. So pre-jump. And you can just fall directly into the load. And then the fast strat, this is more of the standard. We're going to hit here and do this inventory drop into the load. And if you want, you can use this bulb, this little bulb above you is kind of a point of reference, or any of these bulbs, as a point of reference to like get an idea of where you are before you do the inventory drop. So like I said, that'll save you 0.4. This next room, we're just going to dash, dash, C dash. That's about it. Okay, now for this room, we're going to stop right before this barrel. That one right there. I just like to press the cancel button here. And you'll be about here. You'll jump, wall jump, dash. And then we're going to jump. And there's a pogoable object right here in the background. So we're going to jump and pogo this, and that'll get us up here. Ideally, you don't clip this ledge, but it's like frames if you do. Then if you need to, you can walk a little bit, and you just really don't want to accidentally like dash and land on that. We're going to dash and go straight to this platform down here. Once you get to here, we're going to neutral dash and dash left. This neutral dash will give you a ceiling boost. And then from here, you have a couple options. Skate King likes to do this, where he dashes and buffers the pogo and goes up. Most people seem to prefer just jump, dash, dash, and then go up like this. If the spider's not there at the top, then you want to do left to right, because that'll save a couple frames. So just right side wall jump, and then from there You land here. You can do a little pre-jump to gain a bit of fall speed before the ground breaks, and then you want to C-dash about here. The ceiling is a bit deceiving. It's not that low. Alright, you will notice we have this wonderfully placed sign right here. That's going to be our cue for what we need to do after the C-dash. So, if our C-dash breaks the sign, we're going to try to press it right as we get to the sign. If our C-dash breaks the sign, we need to hold right and do a wall jump. If it doesn't break the sign, then we can just hold left and do a normal jump off the ground. So it breaks the sign, we do that. If it doesn't break the sign, then you would just jump off the ground like that. They're basically the same speed. Technically, you could maybe with like save a couple frames with TAS on the wall jump, but it doesn't really matter for runs. Then from here, we're just gonna jump dash here, and do this movement. This is another moment where you want to make sure you delay the jump, because if you don't, you'll get this trans dash that won't go anywhere. You want to delay the jump until the dash is over, and that'll give you much more height. Okay, now going into Beastin, we are going to C-dash. You can see this little notch on the floor right here. And then hop on the left side of this bench. If you want to, you can hold left or right all the way through this cutscene like this, and it'll keep the music from this room where you play Beastin. Otherwise, you'll just have no music. Quick breakdown on the health. When we leave Monomon, we have 5, and we're always going to tank 1 to the Queen's Garden's damage warp. However, the section's pretty hard. It also has QGA in it, so you're not always going to be on 4 health here. And at most of the time, you're really not going to be on 4 health unless you're like really good at the section. If you're not on 4 health, I would say you should always quit out here. If you are on 4 health, you can choose not to quit out, and that'll save you roughly 0.3 just flat, and then you also don't have to collect soul, or hardly any soul in Beastin. So that's definitely worth taking into consideration. You can just quit out every time and always have 5 health if you want. That's a perfectly valid option. But if you do choose to do the no quit out on 4 HP, then you still want to practice Beastin with the soul gathering, because you will need to quit out sometimes. You're not always going to have 4 HP. That being said, you do need 2 to 3 damage tanks in Beastin, 1 for the last evout and 1 to 2 for the first evout, depending on the RNG you get. So just keep that in mind. Like, it's a tight section. It's very little room for error here. So I'll show you the quit out. When we come into these webs, I like to mash the first slash, just because there's not really a good cue for it. And then after that, I time with like a rhythm. It sounds roughly like this. And this is where you see the save symbol. As soon as I touch the ground, I'm able to quit out. But yeah, like I said, you don't want to mash the rest of those hits. Only mash the first one if you're gonna mash. So we'll quit out here, and then you can press Dream Now as you're loading in. You can just hold it. I like to tap it really fast, just like kind of mash it, because that way I'll make sure I don't hold it after. As soon as I hear the thing, I can start dashing. Then once we get to here, this is where we're gonna do the Vout skip, which is one of the scarier tricks in the run, especially because it's so late. Okay, once you get to here, we're going to 1, 2, 3 and dash, and then from here we're going to do a pre-jump and try to get over whoever is here. This will just get us into a good spot to set up the next strat as fast as possible, which is trying to find a spot to C-dash as early as possible. Obviously, C-dashing longer is better because it's faster. The problem is these guys have 15 health and our C-dash does 10 damage, which means we can't C-dash through them unless we've hit them once. The other problem is we have to be able to charge C-dash before they walk into us. There's 4 situations you can be in: a spider to your right, walking left and right, and a spider to your left, walking left and right. If either spider's walking toward you, so on your left moving right or on your right moving left, you can just up slash them and you'll see it just changes the direction they're walking. And that'll also put them at 10 health, so they'll die to a C-dash if they're on your right. If they're on your left walking left, then they don't matter, obviously. And if they're on your right walking right, you can do the same idea, except in order to not change the direction, you can actually just / and then C-dash, and you'll be good. It's important to be aware that these eggs have a chance to spawn another Timmy Tommy spider, so be aware that if you hit them, that can happen. Though if you C-dash through them, they're not going to hit you because they'll spawn after your C-dash already passes, so it's not a big deal. And if you've made it to this point on the breakable platform and you still haven't found a spot to C-dash, you're just going to want to start dashing right to get to here. Okay, the optimal movement for this section is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 and dash left. It's going to be 3 dashes just like that, and we'll just walk the rest of the distance. Keep in mind there's an important distinction between doing a jump here, landing, and then dashing, versus doing a jump here and dashing on the way up. You're still moving up when you're doing this one, and it's going to fit the dash spacing a lot better. So aside from it just being faster in terms of how quickly you dash, it's a pretty decent sized gap between you and Fiona, so you don't have to worry too much about hitting her. And if you do these jumps more optimally at the bottom, then you're going to have a slower like velocity moving up by the time you go to dash, which means the frame window for doing this left dash is going to be bigger. If you need to, because you did the din quit out at the start, you can try to make sure you space yourself to get a up slash on Fiona, or you can lose a little bit of time if you want it, but there will be more soul in the future as well. Okay, now we're on to Henry. This is a lot of players' least favorite spider in Din because there's a massive piece of foreground that just completely obstructs your view of him in the worst place possible. I'll note that you probably just shouldn't try to go left at all. The hitbox over here is terrible, and if you jump too high or you try to do something like this, it can like cut your jump short. And it's also just like not particularly helpful for trying to make it up here. So I recommend just sticking with the right side. A lot of times you will just take damage to this guy because there's nothing you can do if he's like hiding behind the foreground and you don't have time to react. But the general strats for here is if he's not here, you just want to do 2 wall jumps like that on the right and immediately get over to the left wall. That's what the left wall hitbox looks like. It only starts right about here. So that's why we do 2 wall jumps to get there first. If he's here, you can try to jump off and pogo. You can sometimes get like 3 pogos there or 2. You can jump and pogo around him and then go back to the same wall. You can just trans dash under him, like if you want to, you can do that and then pogo him. There's a lot of strats for that guy. You're just gonna have to mess around with it. It's the same for all these spiders, really. So Parker, we have a couple options. If he's high, we can just ignore him completely, especially if you didn't do the din quit out and you already have soul. Then that's gonna be one of your best options. If he's low, you can also kind of do exactly the same thing, but with a pogo, like that. And then if he's in a kind of like intermediate position, you can try to get like 2 pogos off like that, especially if you need soul. Once you dash left, you're just going to do, I believe it's 2 dashes. Excuse me. And then wall jump and dash over to here. Okay, we've got like a million strats for George here, but they're pretty much just go right side or go left side and then react accordingly. So left side is faster, right side is safer generally. I'll show right side first. The goal here is to make sure to bait him into spitting. You really want him to spit because when he spits, he stands still. And if you time it right, then you can just jump off and he'll spit behind you. And then you can just pogo wall jump up. If he's high, you can do something like that and to get up instead. And then left side, your main strat is going to be, assume you don't see him here, I'll wait till he's gone. You can do 2 wall jumps and pogo him, or you can do 2 wall jumps and wall jump again. You can also just kind of do like 1 wall jump and pogo. You have a lot of options. And then the last thing is if you have a ton of health, like maybe you didn't quit out and only got hit once to the devout, you can also pretty reliably just damage tank into the wall like that and then do 2 wall jumps to get to here. The last thing to keep in mind is when this guy spits, sometimes it's pretty often actually that when he spits, he can spit like all the way up to like here. And you can actually be completely past him and then get hit by a spit while you're trying to escape up to here. So just keep that in mind. Okay, now that we've made it to here, we're going to jump, wall jump, dash, and then we're going to do another dash, and we're going to do a little hop after this dash to try to get a bit of speed off of the ceiling here. It's going to be a little ceiling boost. You just try to brush up against the ceiling to get fall speed before we drop here. It'll look like that. Then for the grub, it doesn't lose any time to save it. You can mess it up and then lose time because of that, which is on you. But personally, I just ignore it. Notably, like Pest in his 32-16 lost 3 seconds to messing up this grub save and then messing around, like getting distracted by it. I just don't mess with it at all. We're gonna dash left, and then we're gonna try to keep our attention on this Frank position, which can be pretty annoying. The goal essentially is to wall jump under him from either side. If you're here, you can like wall jump under him like that, and sometimes get a pogo off as well. And then you can also wall jump under him from that side. So as long as you're below him, like by a decent amount, you're good. If he's moving down, it's also really easy from the left side because he'll be moving with you. So, and then the other option you have is you can kind of do a sort of like trans dash thing under him if you want, like that. But yeah, that's gonna get you to here. Okay, so once you get to here, you want to have at least 7 soul. You can save a bit of time if you have 8 and you only need 1 hit. I'll show you the strat for that. If you have less than 7, I'd really just make sure you get to 7 on Frank or George prior. But if you are already here and you have like 6, then we can get an extra hit of soul from this devout here. But here's the 2 soul strat. So we're going to dash here, then dash, pogo dash, and get a turnaround slash here. And we're going to walk that extra distance right here and just climb up. Now, if you do need an extra hit of soul, you can do the same strat, but you can just hit him. Even if his mask is closed, as long as you jump and you hit him from really high, you can do exactly the same thing and just get an extra 1 or even 2 hits of soul from that if you really need it. Other thing to note is there's like a ceiling here. You can accidentally like grab this wall after dashing over him. It's not a big deal if you do. It's not really going to lose you time in of itself, but it's a bit of a symptom from just greeting the first dash poorly. If you are like grabbing that wall, it means you're probably losing a bit of time from doing this first dash too late, like too far to the left. You want to do it a bit more to the right if you're grabbing that wall. So that's the 2 soul strat. Okay, here's the strat for when you're on 8 or 9 soul. The 1 soul doesn't make a difference. This is the fastest strat either way. If you're trying to be safe, this is a little bit harder than the 2 soul strat. So if you want, you can just do the 2 soul strat every time. But this will save you a little bit of time. So here we're going to, if you're left wall, you can go like that. If you're right wall, you can just go here. It doesn't really matter, but you get to this spot and then we're going to go and climb up. The nice thing about this strat is any extra distance you gain after this devout doesn't matter, because since we get to here, the other strat, we walk and do this. But in this strat, we're going to be a little bit further to the right, so we're going to do an extra dash, which means, like I said, any extra distance you gain doesn't matter because we're just buffering a jump out of this dash. And the dash will always get us far enough. So because of that, what we're going to do is, I didn't do it there, but typically after this dash, you want to like dash here and go neutral to pogo that, so that you can make sure you don't go too far to the left and accidentally miss the lantern pogo. The hard part about this strat is that when you do this dash, you want to avoid holding the jump after the grounded dash, because you grounded dash and then the next dash is buffered, and the jump out of it is also buffered. If you hold that buffer jump the entire duration until the next dash, you have a chance to get sticky ceiling, which looks like that. So you want to avoid getting that because it's going to delay the amount of time until you get down, which is you need to bonk your head and get down to do the strat. So yeah, you need to make sure you release the jump just slightly before you do that midair dash. So that's going to be the hard part of the strat. It'll take a little bit of practice, but again, it's the strat. Okay, from here, we're going to have a couple different options. I'll show the fastest one on average, and then I'll show the safer one. Okay, for the Q to Dream No Herrah, this is not going to work, and this should work. And for the Herrah room, it's the same situation as Monomon. Its C dash is going to be 0.1 faster, but harder to optimize, so a lot of runners will just do this. And then you can also do the early heal thing here. I'll leave the conditions here as well for when you can and can't do that. But once it lights up, we're going to stop. Skip the cutscene with any key, and we're actually not going to quit out this time. This is the one dreamer we won't quit out at. That is, unless you have 0 soul. If you messed up and only have 0 soul after the last devout, then you can do the quit out in early control here. But we do want to keep the 1 soul from the devout that we just killed. Okay, so here's our 1 hit of soul from the devout. Between 11 and 21 is good. Soul counts and hits of every hit is 11. So, and then Geo's pretty exact in this category. You're usually going to have a right around 250 if you did everything right. If you have 250 or more, you're good. If you have less than 250, you're going to need to lose like a second to get this rock over here. So it looks like that. You get quite a lot from just doing that inventory drop and going here. But if you don't need the soul, if you don't need the Geo, then you can just do this movement. Still do the inventory drop, and then we're going to go same into the 2-hit strat from Travis earlier. Same exact thing. And then from here, we're going to dash, and we're just going to walk off and then up slash. And that's to avoid clinging on the wall and get as far right as possible. So up slash, and then you just dash, dash, jump, inventory drop, and dash left. There isn't particularly a great cue that I'm aware of in terms of when to cancel this inventory, but you're just going to have to get like a good feel for when to do it. The goal is to dash as high as possible into this tunnel right here. So yeah. Okay, for this movement, it's just going to be a quick dash, jump, 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 dash, and C dash out. There is going to be a slightly faster way to do it if you want to save like 0.1. It's a bit harder. It'll be like this. So just be careful not to accidentally corner correct on this platform or accidentally like overshoot it and fall. And the only other thing to note about this room is you want to dash as low as possible onto this elevator without corner correcting. The corner correct will lose a bit of time. This room, we're going to T-dash in, stop ourselves in front of this toll. And then we have 2 strats. We can either do the wiggle again, or we can just do the double re-entry like we did in King Station. So here's the wiggle. 1, 2. And then you can just C-dash back in. And then, take the stag. The other option is the double re-entry, where you will go in, do this, and then you can just immediately C-dash out. Stop before you get out. And then we're actually just going to dash back in first. Fireball. And then C-dash back in. And I'll get you to the stag. You're going to mash, and again, stag is always 1 down in select. Okay, here, dash, dash, jump, 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 dash. Don't need to hit the lever because we hit it earlier. For this room, it's going to start you facing left, and if you're too optimal, if you press C-dash on the first frame, even if you're holding right, you'll still C-dash left. So make sure you don't C-dash on the first frame, just don't be too good at the game. We're going to C-dash to the right, and it's going to be the same cue to stop the C-dash as we used during the Uumuu split earlier, which is halfway between like this house and whatever this guy's name is. In this room, we're going to start by pausing. You can pause pretty much around where I am or lower. And then we're going to unpause and dash before we hit the ground, and that'll stop us from hard falling. It actually saves time. Then we're just going to jump up and C-dash from this wall. In order to optimize where you do this dash, you want to do it as low as possible without hard falling, but just be careful not to greed it too much, because it's pretty easy to greed it too much and then accidentally hard fall anyway. But the reason this is because the lower you do your dash, the less you have to fall with low fall speed, since your dash resets your fall speed before you're able to jump up to this wall. So that looks like this. In this room, we're just going to get to here. You can use one of these signposts as a cue for when to stop your C-dash, or just kind of as a reference point. Enter here. Dash up to this egg and wait for the cutscene. Then from here, this is going to be our cue to C-dash. I like to go like You can either use this line in the background or like halfway between this notch and the edge of this floor tile. Whatever you want to use as a cue. All we're going to do here is just CH through this room. Okay, from here, you're going to want to stop this as early as you can get a slash out on this thing. So right about where you saw me do it there. Then for every slash, we're just going to want to try to move as far right as possible. And if you need to, you can slash and dash between your slashes and it won't lose any time on the slashes. It's still the same exact rhythm if you throw a dash between. Just don't do it 2 times in a row because it will be slower like this. You don't want to do that. But as long as you only do it once, you're good. And you want to get as far to the right as possible for this one so that you can get to the other one in only 1 dash because the walking distance is going to lose time. So you want to do it like that and like that. You hit that one from really far away. And that's going to be the chance for THK.
I haven't looked at the sun for so long. I'd forgotten how much it hurt to. I haven't looked at the sun for so long. I'd forgotten how much it hurt to. The show ain't over. They'll keep on going. They'll keep on laughing. And fucking around, round, 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 off into the distance. Those 2 brothers, those 2 lovers, and the smooth carpet I haven't looked at the sun, I haven't looked at the sun for so long. I'd forgotten how much I haven't looked at the sun, I haven't looked at the sun for so long. I'd forgotten they just want to be one. Walk off into the sun. They're not kissing, and they're not fucking. They're just having fun, 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 fun,
What? I hate this game! That's never happened before, dude! I'm so fucking done. It's so fucking dumb! That's never happened to anyone! That's literally never occurred in the game! Oh! You can't even sticky ceiling, it's not a flat ceiling! That can't happen! I'm so done. It's literally not a flat ceiling! Ah!